Aviation history lives on Trento Airport through the extraordinary collection of aircraft, art and memorabilia gathered by the great pioneer Gianni Caproni, who played key roles in the development of the industry in the first half of the 20th century. Caproni was born in 1886 in Trentino, which then belonged to Austria. He studied civil and electrical engineering. Caproni was responsible for about 170 aircraft types and 160 patents, and built up a great industrial group which comprised famous companies like Isotta Fraschini. In 1940, he was created Count of Taliedo, the town outside Milan that was the seat of one of his main factories. He died in 1957. His wife Timina had a keen sense of history. In the 30s, she created the Caproni Museum, which 50 years later moved to Trento, under an agreement with the provincial government. At the entrance, visitors are greeted by an F-104 starfighter whose sleek shape belies in the fact that the design is over a half a century old. The oldest flying machine on display is the Car-6 biplane, which flew in 1911, only 8 years after the Wright brothers. The uncovered frame conveys the frailty of the structure of early aircraft. After the Car-6, Caproni turned his attention to monoplanes, whose potential had been shown by the French pioneer Blériot. The K9 even has the same three-cylinder engine designed by Alessandro Anzani. In 1913, Caproni obtained a license from Bristol to build a two-seat military observation monoplane designed by the Romanian Henri Coanda. The Bristol on display was built in England. Aviation made a decisive leap forward during the First World War. Small workshops became major industries and piloting ceased to be the preserve of the rich. The Caproni Museum exhibits the fuselage of the only surviving Fokker D8. This monoplane of the 1918 was evolved from the Red Baron triplane. It is still fitted with its original rotary engine. The SVA is one of the most famous Italian aircraft of all time. The Ansaldo Company of Genova, a historic name in Italian industry, built almost 2,000 units. The SVA 5 on display is a completely original airframe. In August 1918, it took part in the Vienna raid conceived by Gabriele D'Annunzio. The little M20 is the oldest surviving Macchi type in Italy. It was built to serve the huge demand for private flying that was expected to follow the First World War. In fact, cheap surplus aircraft stole the market from the newer designs. Many firms survived only through contracts to train military pilots. This was the case of Gabardini, which trained thousands of pilots near Novara, including the famous Arturo Ferrarin. The G-51 bis biplane hanging from the ceiling is the only Gabardini on display in the world and is a worthy representative of this forgotten aircraft family. The K-100 is an almost mythical machine because from 1930 onwards it trained an entire generation of pilots. Popularly known as the Caproncino, it had an all-wood structure and was fitted with many different engines. Caproni and its license built over 700 units in Italy and abroad, and some still fly. In 1933, a Ka-100 seaplane was used in support of Italo Balbo's formation flight to the United States. In 1930s, biplanes were finally superseded by monoplanes. The Caproncino was joined by the Simone 202M that won a specific competition in 1938. With its enclosed cockpit and side-by-side seating, the Simone was widely used for instrument training, or, as it was then called, blind flying. Savoia Marchetti is synonymous with long-distance flights seaplanes, none of which have survived. The small twin-engine SM-80 bis was built in 1933 for sport flying, but embodied the same fine engineering as its S-55 cousin. If you need proof, look no further than the exquisite wood blanking and copper nails of its hull.